if rates were to drop pretty quickly, and what's that going to do to supply and demand, right? What's your perspective on that, let's say in your marketplace, for example?
I mean, I think if rates were to drop quickly, I think we would see a repeat of a lot of the behaviors and activities that we saw like during COVID when rates were wild. So double-digit appreciation. We kind of got used to this year and last year, more moderate appreciation. I think we're going to see double-digit appreciation. We're going to see demand outpace supply. We're going to see sellers calling all the shots again. And what I love about this market right now is buyers have a lot more leverage than they've had in years.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more balanced. It's much more fair. Whenever I meet with a buyer now, I go, hey, this is a much more fun time to be buying real estate because you don't have to just acquiesce to whatever the seller's asking for. So I do think that if rates go down, it'll be great for affordability of a certain price point. But what's that price point going to look like? Is it just going to shoot up like it did last time? That's what I foresee.
Jason Thomas here with J&J Financial. I have a very special guest with me today, Beatrix Whipple with the Whipple Group, based out of Long Beach. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the top team out of Keller Williams, right?
That's right.
In Long Beach.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, very exciting. We got to work on a transaction earlier this year. We'll probably discuss that a little bit more. We've been talking about running right now. So anything else you want to add, as far as running or weightlifting, exercising, just like things in your personal life that, impact how you show up with your business? I would love to hear that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead and give me a little bit of background on what got you into real estate.
So interestingly enough, it was a family business for me. My mom was a realtor. My stepdad was in land sales. He was a land broker. And growing up, I grew up around real estate. And I was always a creative. I had zero interest in real estate. I remember helping my mom do farming or pot buys, and I had this red wagon, and there was this big tract of homes in La Habra, and we would drop off like mini pumpkins and things like that. And my whole life, I grew up going to open houses and going to listing appointments, and I thought it was so boring. I was like, I would never do this. Never. No way. Absolutely not. I wanted to take photos and be a creative. And then I was maybe 22 years old, and I was kind of drifting. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was shooting weddings and, just kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do. And my mom urged me to get my real estate license, which I did. And I worked with her for about a year. And it wasn't good. We always had a very strained relationship, but it did get me in the door to real estate. And after about a year of working together, I went off on my own. I had 0 leads. Nothing. I had no clients. I had one lead that refused to get pre-qualified. And at the time, I was still so young and hopeful. I was like, maybe it'll work out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not seeing the red flags.
Yeah, we've all been there, right?
And I had nothing of my own, and I just started holding open houses. This was before real estate marketing was what it is now. Like, no one had good pictures of their listings. Mm-hmm. And I would find a vacant listing. Actually, you know what it was? It was Long Beach that really kind of propelled my career, because I was living in North Orange County at the time, in like Brea Fullerton area.
Oh, that's where I live.
Okay,
Brea, yeah.
And I wasn't in love with the area. I grew up there. I wanted more hubbub, more activity. I'm a city person. Like, I love New York City.
Yeah.
And I wound up in Long Beach. I was dating someone who lived in Long Beach, and I was like, Long Beach is cool. Like, Long Beach, it's a vibe.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I ended up identifying properties that were vacant, that didn't have open houses scheduled, and I would call the listing agents and ask them if I could hold their listings open, and they said yes. And I would go and take pictures of their listings that were way better than the actual listing photos, and make my own brochures, and make my like custom branded water bottles, and bring music. And then I would put up like 30 open house signs. I'd wake up at like 6 a.m. And Long Beach doesn't have a lot of grass, like over in Alamitos Beach, where I was doing a lot of this work. So I would buy these huge zip ties and like zip tie my signs up to the lampposts.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that's how I built my business. I just started kind of, talking to people that I felt I could connect with better. It was more urban. It was young. When I was, 22 and trying to do real estate in North Orange County, I probably looked like I was, 15, and it was like these older people that like they don't want to have anything to do with me. But I went to Long Beach and I kind of found my niche and my groove, and I met a bunch of buyers, and those buyers turned into sellers down the line, and that's really how I built my book of business. And I feel like there's this gravitation back towards, open houses and door knocking and doing stuff kind of the old-fashioned way where you're more face-to-face because people are so disconnected now digitally, if that makes sense.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I think, it sounds like I think a lot of realtors, like newer realtors now, make the mistake of getting into real estate thinking, oh, this is easy, right? Or I'm a realtor. I don't think they realize how hard you have to work to really build a successful business. Yeah. And everything that you're saying right now, it just sounds like you were just ready and willing to do anything and everything. And it didn't matter how hard you had to work.
Yeah, I had no other option.
Business, right?
I had no. It was either that or waiting tables. I had no other option.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and it's amazing to see what you built. I'm sure if you look back now, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's incredible, and it also goes by really fast.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in the thick of it and you're working hard and succeeding as well, I mean, it goes by in the blink of an eye. Yeah, before you know it.
It really does. And I mean, I think back to times like, what I think a lot of people don't see is a lot of the struggle. There's this, I don't know if it's a meme or what, but there's this, thing that I've seen on social media where it's like this iceberg. And you see the top of it and you see like all the success and the accolades and all of that and everything underneath it that you don't really see.
Right.
And I think what a lot of people getting into the business don't realize is everything that's under the surface and everything that goes into it, and all of the no's that led to the yeses. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to newer agents or new agents on my team, I always recommend this book to them. It's called Fanatical Prospecting. It's by Jeb Blount, and it just talks about how all of these things that you do, even though you may not see the fruits of it right away, it compounds. And you just have to keep doing these things over and over and over and over. And you're asking me about, fitness and how I take some of that into my business. And I think that there's so many parallels, so many. I mean, it's repetitions. It's doing the same thing over and over. And you're not going to see the results right away. But one day you're like, oh, look at that. Like, where did that come from? Yeah. And it's the same thing. And also we were talking about running earlier. And I think that there's so many life lessons and business lessons with, even running where, because people talk to me, they're like, oh, I hate running. And I'm like, everybody hates running.
Right.
Everybody hates it.
Yeah.
But, you keep doing it. And like my inner monologue is, oh, I hate this. This is awful. Wait. No, I still hate it. No, I got it. And you hit your stride and then you feel amazing.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep breathing. And it just reminds you that everything is temporary. Like the bad stuff's temporary. The good stuff's temporary. You just have to keep breathing and keep moving through it to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And it's also finding joy and fulfillment in the process.
Yeah.
Not just always focused on the end goal, because that can seem so far away. It feels like it's so daunting, or how am I ever going to get there? And then if you're not enjoying the day-to-day and the grind and the things that aren't the most exciting thing to do every day, because, I mean, I don't know what time you train at, but if you're waking up early in the morning and you're going out for a run at 6 a.m. in the morning, are you super excited about that every morning? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's part of your routine, and in order to reach the goal that you set for yourself, you have to do it, and you have to find some sort of joy and fulfillment in that process. And it's not always going to be exciting, and it's not always pretty.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I, with my running background in high school and college, I really gravitated toward it, because I did fall in love with the process, even though running is really freaking hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and racing is really, really hard.
Yeah.
But if you're able to endure past those painful moments, and once you do get to the finish line, the gratification is huge.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah, it's so rewarding. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I know we wanted to touch on some real estate topics as well, especially that are pertinent for, I think, a lot of potential buyers right now, just in light of what we've seen over the last 3.5, 4 years now, higher interest rates, inflation. Where we live in Southern California, it is very expensive, and a lot of people they've been on the fence for a long time. They're trying to time the market. They're trying to line up everything perfectly, and that's just not how life works in general. And they don't think about some of the benefits, I think, of home ownership, or they only fixate on one thing potentially. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those things. One thing that that you mentioned you want to talk about as well that I see every day is a hyperfixation on interest rates.
Yes.
So I know what my perspective is. What are you hearing from your clients when somebody comes to you interested, but they're worried about what rates are doing? It's probably a different conversation than they're having with a lender, if they've even talked with one at that point yet. But yeah, what are you seeing on your side?
I hear, and I think a lot of agents are hearing, oh, we're going to wait for rates to come down. We're going to wait for rates to come down. And what I try to educate my clients on is, let's look at what your personal circumstances are right now, because it's impossible to time the market perfectly. It's impossible to hit the right rate, hit the right price, hit the right property all at the same time. And I think that the rates that we saw during COVID, we're never going to see that again.
Right.
Barring an enormous, financial or, pandemic catastrophe or something like that, we're never going to see that again.
Right.
But, I've been doing this long enough that I remember when rates in the 6s and the 7s were kind of normal.
Right.
And, affordability was very different. Pricing was very different. So there's definitely an affordability factor. But I always try to educate people and guide them and say, listen, this is not our parents' or our grandparents' market where you buy your forever home. Look at this as a financial investment and a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. Because if you're it doesn't have to be the perfect home. It has to be good enough for you to be in for, let's say, 5 years. And think of it as a place to park your money. Because if you're paying rent, it's doing one thing. It's paying for a roof over your head, and that's it.
Right.
But if you're paying for a mortgage, and this is something I go through a whole spreadsheet with a lot of my clients with, and that video that I sent you kind of touches on some of this.
Yeah.
If you're paying your mortgage, it does so much more. It pays for a roof over your head. It also enables you to have tax write-offs that you wouldn't have if you were renting. That if you're a W-2 employee, you can go to your tax person and have them tell you how to change your withholdings to see those tax benefits right away rather than wait for a huge return. And then you're getting these tax benefits, which will then bolster your take-home income, which then you can take that extra money that feels like a raise, so to speak, and apply it towards your monthly payment, which will then reduce your net monthly payment. So that's the immediate benefit. Mm-hmm. Plus, in addition to that, you're capturing the appreciation of the property going up. And I like to break this down, not to geek out too much, but I like to break this down on a monthly basis to people. Because I'm like, okay, let's take 3% appreciation. If $1 million home appreciates 3% a year, that's what, $30,000 divided by 12? I don't know what that number is. But
25.
Okay.
2,500.
Yeah, 2,500. Yeah. Every month that you're living in your home and you're paying your mortgage, you're putting 2,500 into this piggy bank that's your house. And it's a latent benefit. It's there. And I always use the film analogy, back to film. I go, it's like when you take a picture and the image is there on the film. It's latent, but you're not going to see it until you sell your house. You're not going to see it until you develop the film. That $2,500 is every month it's accruing. And then also you're paying down a debt. So your equity is growing and growing and growing every month. And I have this chart that I'll show people where I'll go, look, let's just look at even 10% down on this purchase price. Every year, this is how you can take your equity from this number to this number by doing something you're already doing, by paying someone's mortgage. Mm-hmm. It's either yours or your landlord's or your housing providers.
Yeah. I call it the 2 A's, appreciation and amortization for building wealth with real estate. Because you're paying down your mortgage through the amortization a little bit every month. And actually the amount that's going towards the principal goes up, $5, $10 or whatever it is each month. And then the interest is reduced, right? And then, of course, the appreciation, like you touched on.
Yeah.
3%, over the last, 40, 50 years is fairly conservative.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do something within a year, maybe you might not get any appreciation potentially, but as a longer term investment, it's a pretty safe bet, right? And you make a great point about rent, right? It's literally just a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You're not getting any of that money back. But one of the hardest things when it comes to real estate is just getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
But once you do purchase your first place, it just opens up all sorts of options for you down the road.
Yeah. It's leverage.
Yeah, it's leverage. Yeah. I mean, I have plenty of friends that started off, they bought a small condo, and then 5 years later, 7, whatever it was, then they moved up. Maybe they got married at that point, whatever it was. Then they buy a single family home, and then they move up even from that one to a bigger single family home. Or some of them will keep that property and go buy their next home. Now they have an investment property as well. There's just so many things that it opens up that you just never have the option to do so. Tax write-offs, like you mentioned, when interest rates are higher like they are right now, then the benefit is through tax breaks, right? When interest rates are like during COVID, for example, you're benefiting because your payment is really low. Because you have a 2.5% interest rate, and that as well.
Yeah.
But your payment is lower. So like during COVID, for example, everybody refining at like 2.5%, 3%, whatever it was, their payments are a lot closer to what they would be renting for anyway.
Yeah.
But yet they own the property, and they're even more is going to principal, right? Because it's so low and it's appreciating. But right now, my mortgage is more than if I was renting, but I'm still getting the appreciation. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much the tax breaks actually help them. So, maybe we can talk about that a little bit too, in a little bit more depth. Like next year, for example, the SALT tax is going up to $40,000.
Yeah, that's huge.
Right now, it's at 10. Out here in California, if you're only including your property taxes under that SALT tax, it does include state as well. But if you're only including that, you're capped at $10,000. Anyone buying right now, essentially, their property tax bill is more than $10,000
for sure,
for the most part, right? So that's a big deduction right there. And then the interest. You can write off interest up to, federally up to $750.
And is that changing too?
That's not changing. Okay. Federal $750, state for California is $1 million. But if you're at like a 6% interest rate, I think that's about $45,000 in interest that you're paying on the first year. Let's say you have $1 million home, and or let's say you buy for like 1.25, put 20% down. You have $1 million loan. You can write off 75% of the interest. There's your 45.
Yeah.
Your tax bill is probably about $15,000. So that's $60,000 in deductions. And I think the standard deduction next year, I'm not a CPA, so we're just talking basic information here, but I think it's around 32 if you're filing jointly.
I think so.
Yeah. So it's almost double.
Yeah.
And in order to afford that type of home anyway, you're probably in like the 24% tax bracket. So you're saving $7,000 in federal taxes. We haven't even gotten to state yet, right? You can write off all the interest for state. You can still write off your property taxes. That combines like $75,000, and I think the standard deduction in California is like 10, maybe less. You're probably in the 9-10% bracket for that as well. That's another $6,000 or $7,000.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, that's more than $1,000 a month. So to your point, if you're a W-2 employee, and I've had numerous clients who told me, Jason, I cannot afford this payment. And I went over the tax breaks with them and what that means. And hey, you can go adjust your withholdings. I always tell them, like, just run all this by your CPA. Don't take what I'm saying as gold here. I'm not a licensed CPA. But go ask them, hey, based on this information, how can I adjust my withholdings? And now they're bringing home an extra $800, $9,000 a month. Oh, I can totally afford that payment. Yeah. And then they bought the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really eye-opening when you walk really the numbers with someone.
Yeah. And it's not something that people are probably coming to you asking about. Right. We have to educate the borrower on that.
They're not, but I kind of try to force the education onto them. I just tell them, I go, listen, you know what actually caused me to build the spreadsheet? Because I built a spreadsheet around all this. I had an engineer a few years ago, and I love working with engineers. I think a lot of people are like, ooh, engineer. And I'm like, no, give it, let's talk.
Yeah.
Because I love data. And
I'm
so
the same way.
Yeah.
I can speak their language to an extent,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was having sticker shock between the rent and that he was paying and the mortgage payment. And I said, let's compare apples to apples. So I'm like, how can I explain to this guy that it's not apples to compare rent to mortgage? And I was able to put all this into a spreadsheet. And then when I explained it to him, it was this light bulb moment. And so I explained to all of my buyers, I go, listen, I know you're motivated to buy, otherwise you wouldn't be here with me. But I think in order to put things even more into perspective and help you figure out what your true budget is, let's run everything through the spreadsheet. And I have this additional side to it where I go, okay, this is the immediate benefit. This is your net monthly payment, blah, 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 like what we just talked about. And I have this other side that takes into factor the appreciation at 3%, just forecasting it at 3%, and then also your principal pay down based off of the amortization table. And when I show them, I go, listen, let's deduct the appreciation that you're banking every month between the appreciation and the principal pay down. Let's deduct the tax benefits, and let's look at that very bottom number. And if that number, if you can rent as nice of a property as the house property that you're considering for less than this bottom number, don't buy it. And it's almost never the case.
Right.
Yeah, the net is always considerably lower.
Yeah, I mean, it really, like you said, it really is eye-opening. It's not something that people factor in. They just think, oh, my payment's this. Oh, how does that compare to rent?
Yeah.
But, again, they're not thinking about all the other benefits, the actual investment portion of it, because they're just viewing that as a place to live.
Yeah.
Right. And until we can show them, like, hey, as an investment, this is actually something that's way better than renting. And, not everyone gets it, unfortunately, but the people that do, it's pretty cool to see, and they get really excited.
They get excited, yeah.
Yeah, they get really excited. Yeah. I mean, I had a client earlier this year, a young kid in his 20s. His parents were helping out with the down payment, and he had about half the down payment anyway. He has a roommate, like he's just renting right now, and he had a roommate who's paying him however much every month. Roommate and friend is going to come with him to buy this place, but we sat down and went over everything, and I talked about the tax breaks because he's a single tax filer. So that was a huge. I talked about his roommate and what that rent is going to be, and then also, of course, the investment portion of everything. And it turned out that I think his mortgage with HOA, everything on this condo was somewhere around $4,000 a month, and I think combined, him and his roommate were paying $3,000 a month to rent. They're paying like $1,500 each or something. So, oh my gosh, my housing expense is going up $2,500. Oh wait, I still have my roommate, and I'm going to have this huge tax break. It was almost dead even to what his portion of rent was currently, and he's investing his money and he's going to have a property that's appreciating, and he's actually going to make money out of it without overextending himself at all.
Yeah.
And his dad, who was sitting there with him when we were talking, he got so excited. He's like, oh, we have to do this. We absolutely, son, you have to do this. Like, this is such a good opportunity for you right now. And that was really cool to see. And it's not like I'm trying to sell him on anything. It's like, no, this is just the data. This is how it works.
Yeah.
And, it was really fulfilling to see, especially when we saw through the whole, they found a place and saw them through that whole thing. And, on paper, it looks like, oh, wow, he's barely qualifying. But that doesn't consider like, oh, he's got the roommate coming over and then all the tax breaks as well. He wasn't overextending himself at all. And it'll be exciting to see in the future, where he goes with that place.
Also, how great that he's getting such a good start at such a young age.
Yeah. It's very fortunate because a lot of people, they're not as a kid or in high school or college, they don't teach you this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody teaches you this. You either have to stumble on it on your own or meet the right people who are going to help you through the process and really care, right, to educate you on that. And otherwise, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Aside from that, there's a lot of things that you can leverage with all of this equity building that you're doing as well, right? Mm-hmm. So I know we talked about if somebody's moving up, they may hang on to the property. How do they do that? Hey, I'm sitting on all this equity, but the seller wants a non-contingent offer and all my money's tied up in the home. How do I navigate that? There are a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can take out that equity. You could do bridge loans. You could do home equity lines of credit and pay them off after the fact. There's a lot of ways to do it that has gotten more popular in this marketplace that we've been in. For a while, inventory was pretty low. Nobody was wanting a contingent offer, right? I mean, there's multiple offers coming in. You've got 3 contingent and 1 non-contingent.
Sometimes cash.
Or cash, right? So what's going to happen with the contingent ones?
Yeah.
They're going to
the bottom of the pile. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to the bottom of the pile. So that's another way, a great way to leverage it up front, that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, aside from that, you can pull money out to buy another property, right? That's what, I have a lot of clients that do that too. Hey, I want to buy an investment property. I got $500,000 in equity. How do I tap into that?
Yeah.
So I can buy something.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of keep building from there. And
some people, snowballs.
Yeah. And some people, they just take that and run with it and they build a real estate portfolio. And how would they do that otherwise? Most people are never going to be able to outsave the market. Okay. Right.
100%.
So, and that's to your point about, people trying to time the market and line up everything perfectly are potentially missing out on a lot of opportunities because of that.
Yeah.
Right. Because, unless you're making 7 figures, let's say, you're just not going to be able to outsave the market, especially if you've got a 7-figure asset in a home that's appreciating at 3-4%, right?
And what I always explain to people is the reason why this is so beneficial is because when you buy real estate, you do pay a lot of interest, especially in the beginning part of the loan. That sucks. But the good thing about it is you can write off most, if not all of it. And when you buy property, you're putting in this much, but you're leveraging the gain on the entire asset, right, which is mind-blowing.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
3% on $1 million is way more than 3% on 10, 20% of that. And,
right,
because people always like to compare real estate to other investments in the stock market and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but what other investment is there where you get to leverage the entire asset but only buy in to 5, 10, 15, 20% of it?
Right. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if somebody buys with, let's say an FHA 3.5% down on $1 million home, they just put $35,000 down. It might appreciate by $35,000 in the first year.
Yeah.
You've already gotten that. I mean, you didn't even lose the money. You're just investing in it. You've already doubled that portion in 1 year.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of investments out there where you can do that.
It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you just put that $35,000 in the market. Even if you're getting 10%, that's $3,500.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
So it's pretty wild to think about just how much you can get ahead through investing in real estate. Right?
Yeah. So I think back to the original point of getting your foot in the door is so crucial. And I think a lot of people are waiting to time the market or waiting to time the rates or waiting until everything is perfect. And there's never a perfect time. I think getting your foot in the door into something where you can see yourself for 5 years, and I always advise 5 years at this point because appreciation has slowed. If you're looking to turn something in 2 years, it's not that kind of market anymore. But 5 years, I think it's pretty solid that you could get a decent appreciation and either pull that out or move on up. But yeah, I think just getting out there and getting your foot in the door rather than waiting because you're going to miss a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, I have I'm sure you do too, plenty of people that kept telling you, I'm going to wait until 2025, let's say, or this could have been 3-4 years ago even. I'm going to wait another year. Okay, year goes by. I'm going to wait another year.
Yeah.
And the property that they almost bought or almost offered on 3-4 years ago, what's the value of that property? They're completely priced out and missed a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to time the stock market. Don't try to time things perfectly. Just start investing. Just get in.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it doesn't just go for real estate, but in life in general, don't be thinking so far ahead that it paralyzes you from even getting started.
Yeah.
Just get started, knowing it's not going to necessarily be perfect. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be reckless with what you're doing, which is why you want to surround yourself with people that are going to help you and educate you and make the right decision. But just get started right? And then see how it goes, and then just kind of build from there and watch it evolve and grow. Yeah. I mean, I hear it all the time with rates. I mean, even last year, I'm going to wait for rates to drop. Well, last year at one point, the 10-year treasury, for those that don't know, is the closest thing that mortgage rates follow. It dipped all the way down to 3.6 at one point. I think that was at like the very end of September last year, if I remember correctly. And then what happened in October? A blowout jobs report, rates went right back up. We haven't seen 3.6 on the 10-year this year. It's dipped under 4 a little bit. But the point is there's been this pattern of rates kind of yo-yoing back and forth the last few years between 6 and 7%. So, and then everyone's like, well, I'm going to wait for them to keep dropping. I mean, in the near term, like, yeah, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get the 30-year fix back into the 5s next year, but it's no guarantee.
Yeah.
For all, we could easily still be in the 6.5, maybe even higher. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely because COVID was a one-off, right?
Yeah.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even before that, when rates were between 3 and 5% a lot, during the 2010s, all the way up to 2020, that's not the normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The normal was what you were talking about when you got started, 6-7%. The other extreme, I guess, would be in the 80s when people, you got your parents
15%.
Oh, wow, or higher.
Yeah.
I used to have this rate, and 6 to 7% is a great rate. I mean, it is more of a normal rate.
Yeah.
And it's just not anything that we can expect for rates to just magically drop overnight, even into like the 4. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what are you missing out on by continuing to wait and wait and wait, until that time comes, if it ever comes?
Right.
And then we could, maybe this is another topic for another time, but if rates were to drop pretty quickly, what's that going to do to supply and demand, right? What's your perspective on that, let's say in your marketplace, for example?
I mean, I think if rates were to drop quickly, I think we would see a repeat of a lot of the behaviors and activities that we saw like during COVID when rates were wild. So double-digit appreciation. We kind of got used to this year and last year more moderate appreciation. I think we're going to see double-digit appreciation. We're going to see demand outpace supply. We're going to see sellers calling all the shots again. And what I love about this market right now is buyers have a lot more leverage than they've had in years. It's much more balanced. It's much more fair. Whenever I meet with a buyer now, I go, hey, this is a much more fun time to be buying real estate because you don't have to just acquiesce to whatever the seller's asking for. So I do think that if rates go down, it'll be great for affordability of a certain price point. But what's that price point going to look like? Is it just going to shoot up like it did last time? That's what I foresee.
Yeah.
I foresee imbalance if that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Anything, sometimes it's, too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Is not good for the market.
Yeah.
It would almost be like a mini, experience that we had during COVID, like you were saying. And that, who probably the group of buyers that would hurt the most would probably be first-time home
For
buyers.
sure.
Lower down payment. How are they ever going to compete with that?
Yeah.
If they're minimum down, they might not even if they got their offer accepted, we might have a low appraisal because they had to go so far above the asking price, and then they don't qualify for their loan anymore. So there's a lot to it that I don't think too many people think about, when they're trying to time it. But again, it just comes back to don't try to get everything lined up perfectly right off the bat. Like, don't try to hit a grand slam, the first time you ever come up to the plate.
Yeah.
Let's strategize for something that works for you, and then think about the long term, right?
I think a lot of what I see in the trenches working with buyers, because I work with a lot of first-time buyers, and I love working with first-time buyers because there's that whole education piece that I love. But I think a lot of it comes out of fear. It's such a big decision. It's such a big price tag. And I think that there's a lot of fear that, often paralyzes people, and they procrastinate and they keep putting it off, and they're missing opportunities. And I think that's where you and I have opportunities to go in and educate people. And when they're educated and they don't see it as this is forever, I'm spending so much money, this is more than rent. When they break it down into smaller, easy to digest chunks of information, and we talk about all the benefits and talk about the steps, I think it really empowers them to feel less fearful about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do loans for a living.
Yeah.
And when my wife and I bought our place, like, oh, this is stressful.
Yeah.
Like, I know what I'm doing and it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot. And then also it's just weighing on like, well, is this the right house? And you start, you can start the emotions around it can easily overtake you as well. Well, any fears or reservations I had about our house when we were buying, and by the way, we were buying in the middle of COVID, are completely gone now. We love our home. It's insane to think about how much it's appreciated.
Right.
It's insane to think if we would have waited and tried to buy the same house or something similar now, our mortgage payment would be double because of the property values and because of the rates. So, from that perspective, it's like, wow, all of those fears that I had were just, that completely unfounded, right? Like none of it impacts me today. And that's the fulfilling part is the education aspect of it and showing people the way, so to speak, right? Because let's face it, even the smoothest escrow transaction, it can be pretty stressful still.
Of course. It's a huge step. And I also think there's this, I always tell buyers, I go, look, you're going to feel like you overpaid. Everyone does.
Yeah.
You might be overpaying today, but you know what? In 2 years, you're going to look back and laugh.
Yeah. 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 You might have overpaid today, but it might be back to even within a year, 6 months, couple years, whatever it is at some point. And then all of a sudden it's just going to keep overtaking and you're just going to watch it grow and open up all these other opportunities. And it's pretty cool to see. I mean, there's not too many regretful homeowners out there that I know of, at least, Yeah. And, again, it's about aligning yourself with the right people that can help you through this and not just view you as a transaction, but actually view you as a individual, as a human being, and who has specific goals, and aligning what you're trying to do or what they're trying to do, and aligning yourself with that as well, whether it's me on the loan side and structuring a loan that fits what they're trying to do, or you finding the right property that's going to fit their goals. But having that team that's going to work together for you, and not viewing the buyer as somebody working for the realtor or lender, right?
Yeah. And I think it's always important to let your buyers know, like, hey, I'm never going to BS you. If I see an issue here that you might not see, I'll vocalize it. And I think having that kind of transparency and honesty makes people realize that you're in their corner, and it helps kind of alleviate any fears about, trusting the process and trusting the people that you're working with. Because I know for us, and I'm sure for you too, it's not about this sale right now. It's about the relationship and the trust. And when you can build that and nurture it by showing that you really do have their back and you're in their corner, by being honest about, hey, this is an issue that I see. I wanted to point it out to you. Let me know what you think about this. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all about communication, right?
Yeah.
And getting ahead of things, not, oh, let's hope this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And well, guess what? More than likely, it's going to happen. I know from me on the loan side, if I even have an inkling of, I wonder how underwriting is going to view this, it's probably not going to happen. Like if I do that, I'm telling you, 100% of the time, it comes back to bite me.
Yeah.
It really does. So getting ahead of those things and just, asking the question is really important, right? Because it's all about how you respond to the difficulties in the transaction, not the difficulty itself, right?
Every transaction is just problem solving.
Yeah, that's all it is. And it's how, life is all about how we respond to things, right? We can blow it up out of proportion. We can make it super stressful where, everybody's upset with everyone, or we can say like, okay, we got to figure this out. Let's see what we need, what steps we need to take. Kind of similar to like that transaction that we worked on. I mean, it took literally everyone being on board. But imagine if one of us was viewing this as someone's fault, or casting blame, or just creating more chaos amidst the challenge that we were facing. It may not have even closed.
You're right.
Who knows?
You're right.
But it's those types of things, meeting those challenges, and I'm sure you see that all the time, right? You've probably worked with a ton of different lenders, a ton of different agents on the other side, and the same challenge presented in one scenario versus another could have two like completely different outcomes.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So very cool. Well, I think we're just about out of time, Beatrix. It was awesome having you on the podcast. I would love to have you on again at some point.
This was
I think,
so fun.
we could definitely cover some more topics as well.
Yeah.
But anybody, in Long Beach or really LA Orange County area, again, Beatrix Whipple, she's the founder of the Whipple Group. They're the biggest team out of Keller Williams in Long Beach. I think it's pretty easy to see why she's as successful as she is. She's a great human being as well. And anybody working with her, I'm sure is gonna have a wonderful experience. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great having you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, awesome.
This is so fun.